To a British neurosurgeon who has led a rare 14-hour surgery to separate babies conjoined at the head in Turkey, Professor Owase Jeelani. Hi, it's good to see you. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Tell us about the challenge.
So we do this every year now. It's almost like Christmas where, as family members, we get to meet and talk about what we've been doing for the year. The foundation that we set up about 7 years ago has helped a number of children around the world. And just recently, we helped a set of Pakistani girls where we undertook the surgery in Turkey. So surgery's gone really well. The girls are recovering nicely and are due to go home, and they'll start their lives, hopefully lead sort of fulfilling lives. But the real interesting story is what happens in between. It's not a once-a-year event. A lot of the work and technology that goes into these surgeries is work that happens within the NHS on a daily and weekly basis. It's work that happens in our academic institutions, for me at UCL, on a regular basis. All of that work, all of that expertise feeds into these complex operations. And the learning we get from these complex operations then feeds back into a lot of our routine work. So this is, one example of where the NHS still has these pockets of excellence, where it uses its knowledge and experience to support children all around the world. Something to be celebrated.
It's amazing, amazing. How do you feel when you're going into one of these surgeries?
So this was our 8th set that we've done, but it's still quite nerve-wracking. It's a lot of preparation, and you go through the various steps and the rehearsals in your mind for months at a time. So finally, when you get to the table, it's really good to be able to execute the plan as you've planned it and for the outcome to be as predicted.
And when the twins are separated, is it then 2 teams that
Absolutely
are involved?
Right. Yeah. So until that point, when they're one entity, everybody's working around the same operating table. Once we have them as 2 separate children, we typically take one child to another operating theatre, and then it's 2 teams that lead the reconstruction.
On a human level, how does it feel when, not in this case, thankfully, when only one of them can survive?
Yeah, that's always a risk with these super complex surgeries, and that's a real risk. And when it doesn't go to plan, it can be quite emotionally challenging for the parents, for the families, but all the professionals involved. So to go into something like this, you have to do a lot of your groundwork and make sure that the odds are truly in the children's favour before you embark on something like this. Over the years, we've had a number of sets that have been referred to us that after analysis, we felt these are too high risk, and we've advised not to undergo the separation. So those kids we've left alone.
What criteria do you use to determine whether or not to carry on with the procedure?
Yeah, a key element is the odds for both twins have to be good before you embark on this work. Now, sometimes the difficulty is if, one twin is flailing and in that process is going to take the other twin with them, then that poses an ethical challenge. If you leave them, you lose both twins. If you intervene, you lose one. So that is typically something that you would through an ethics board, and then following that, you may embark and do the separation on that basis.
Have you ever done that?
Yes, last year we did a separation in Brazil. That was the first time we actually lost a child on the table. It was expected because that one child had severe cardiac problems as well. But even though it was expected, it was still emotionally very, very difficult for everybody involved, including myself.
Yeah, and the parents as well,
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure. Do the children that you work with, operate on, what's their demeanour? I mean, these ones were little, so, yeah. But are they always that size, or are they older people? Or?
So the optimal age, one of the challenges we face, the optimal age to do the separation is early on, because until they're separated, they really can't progress like other normal children. They can't sit, they can't feed themselves. So the sooner you get them to that state as 2 separate entities, then they can start their growth trajectory. It's quite difficult to manage. So the optimal age to separate them is 6 to 12 months. Now, due to logistics, when the referrals come, some of these separations have taken place at a later stage, which does pose most surgical problems, and the outcome is slightly guarded when they're older. The difficulty, again, here is that this is a global exercise. What we've set up really is a global health service for these children. And so logistics have been a very difficult issue for us over the past 7 years. Fundraising, it's relatively straightforward to raise funds when you're in a particular country serving that country. But what we're saying is we have no idea where the next set of children may come from, but we'd like your support. After all this 7 years of a lot of heartache, we're now in a position where we have a number of foreign governments who are offered their services, their help, and this particular case was an example in that. The referral came through last year in October, November time. We tried to fundraise to get the kids here. We weren't able to raise enough funds in time. So then we got in touch with the Turkish healthcare system, the government, and said, you know, we're in a position to help you 4 years ago. Is there any chance you could help us this time round? And they very promptly came back and offered all their services.
Amazing.
And
amazing.
here we are,
And
the whole world coming together to help these two kids.
Love it.
They're making an excellent recovery. Really, really wonderful. They should be in a position to go back to Pakistan in a few weeks.
Amazing. Wait, do you know what your next project is yet?
We're working on it, but I like to talk about it after the work's done.
OK, so you'll come and see me in another year.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Me too. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the Princess of Wales, should we? She has, we're told, returned to work